I gotta say, like, one, thank you for sending the record over ahead of time, but like, it's been great to listen to. I'm so stoked on it. Um, because like, I know like this is one episode, and I think I mentioned it in the episode that I did with Brady, but like, this is an episode that I've been waiting a long time to do.
Yeah, me too. And
And
I
I'm very stoked
appreciate
that it's
that.
finally happening.
Thank you. Yeah. I've been following y'all for like a bit, and I see you in the Honey Creek tea. Like I know you've chatted with homies and stuff, and yeah, this is one I've been eager for too because um yeah, I can tell that we have similar tastes, like
Yeah.
and yeah, I've been excited to like just show you the record and stuff. So yeah, I'm glad I was able to get it to you with enough time and
Oh yeah, dude,
that,
plenty of time. It's a solid jam throughout.
thank you.
Like I said, this record's sick. I'm stoked to talk about it. Um, so let's crack some beers, and then we'll have a good time.
Hell yeah.
All right. In three, two, one. Welcome to the Beers with Bands podcast with your host, Michael Torres. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Beers with Bands. This is a very special, long time in the making episode, and I'm very stoked on it. I'm sitting down with Dylan from Garden Home. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm off work. So I'm good now. Yeah, I've been looking forward to this all day.
Dude, hell yeah, same. For people that might not be aware, like I said, you're from the band Garden Home, and Garden Home is kind of like a melodic hardcore, post-hardcore screamo band from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Um, at the time of this recording, it's not fully out yet. By the time this episode's out, your debut full length is finally out, and I'm stoked to kind of dive into all of that here in a little bit. But before we get too far, what do you do in Garden Home for people that might not be aware?
I am the vocals and rhythm guitar. And I'm also the social media prisoner. So I'm usually the one yapping online.
I feel like every band has at least one person that they like force to do it. Otherwise, it's like I think I talked to someone one time and they're like, "Oh no, we kind of split it up. We're like, I'll take Instagram and I'll take Twitter and like just kind of divide and conquer." But at the same time, you kind of want the one unhinged person to kind of run all the socials because
Yep.
it works out way better.
It's a uniform voice, you're building a brand.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is really, yeah, just my unhinged thoughts of the day usually. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it is fun for me. None of the other guys really like have a, not to say I'm passionate about it, but like have any desire to like spend time online like that. And I kind of get my kicks out of, I don't know, just I'm just kind of like low key just fucking with people a little bit. That's
Right.
that's what's fun online, right? It's not trolling. I'm not out like picking fights, but I am teasing and trying to just have a laugh. That the whole you can't take the shit too seriously, right?
Right, exactly. I do got to say that that's like one thing. Like with this being like a one man show on my end, I kind of sometimes wish I had like one person just to be like, okay, here's the Twitter login, just fucking have at it, and just to see like how crazy it would be. Because like I remember like the band that I used to run with, we like when I would TM, like I had access to the Twitter, we all had access to it, so we would just be on the road just tweeting like unhinged stuff, kind of like how Mway does it, where it's really funny to see them interact, like Mway interact with Mway of just like who posted this type of shit. Like we were the same way, and now I'm at my old age. I'm like, dude, why do I have to do social media for
Yep.
this?
Yeah.
It's
I use the term prisoner, and it is because like it's how the shit gets made now. You have to. You have to participate.
right. Well, speaking of the people that made you prisoners, I know we are missing a few members tonight for this episode. Who are they and what do they do in Garden Home?
Yeah, so Garden Home is four people. It's me, it's Mike Holloway. He plays guitar, he's our riff daddy, he writes everything. Um Musically for the most part. And then we've got John Doyle, lovingly referred to as JD. He is the drummer in the band. Mike and JD went to high school together, so those two have been playing in bands together for a long time. And then we also have Mitch Pratt on bass. He is usually referred to as Pratt if I bring him up in any stories along the way. But yeah, we are all the original members. We're buddies, and finally I think had like one of those right drunk nights where it was like we should finally do this, and yeah, ever since we've been running together. It's been fun to be be doing it with like genuine homies and yeah, people I care about, like yeah, I
Yeah,
feel like it's different when it starts to feel like a job or like you're a gun for hire, but yeah, we just like hanging out.
dude. Yeah, that's what you want at the end of the day. And I've said that multiple times. You don't want it to ever feel like a job. You always want to just have fun with your friends and just kind of do your own thing. Speaking of you guys getting together, like the first EP, Disposable, came out in 2019. I checked that out as well, leading up to this. And for people that might be newer to Garden Home, I feel like it's a really good like foot in the door as to what people could expect for Garden Home. Obviously speaking kind of past tense now that we have this full LP out, but it was like a nice little like segue because really around the time that I found out about Garden Home was around the same time that you signed with Thumbs Up and then put out Past Life, which is crazy to think that because I was just looking at that earlier today too. That was June of 2023, almost a full year since then. How does it how crazy that to think like we signed with the label last year, we put out the date like the first single to our debut LP that long ago, and like how was that response? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think it's probably would be looked at as an unorthodox approach. That I remember Brady approached us. It was like January of 2023. We played January, February. We played a show with Enswell, and it was the first time I got to meet Brady. But we had talked online a little bit, like everybody does, and everyone's like, "You're that Brady person." Brady approached us at this gig and was like, "You shit sick. If you ever want to work together, let me know." And then, down the road, we end up running into each other at a few more shows, hanging out. The vibes were right. We're buddies with Tiny Voices and Emway, and so like the circle was like forming a little bit that way. And I remember I like called Brady. I'm at work, and I'm like, I have this song for the record, but the record is like still gonna be a ways out. Are you down to, like try to help us like amplify this now so that we can like build towards this thing? If you do in fact want to put this record out. And at the time I had like lots of phone recordings of tracks and stuff, but I feel like I'm not trying to like pat our back too hard, but I think our live set speaks for itself in a way. And I feel like Brady probably knew what they were signing up for a little bit with us. And um I think, like it was right time sort of thing where it was like Brady at that time was like, I have a full plate, but I won't in a moment. And what's funny is now that the record is coming out, will have come out, there's a bunch of Thumbs Up stuff cooking right now. Like
Dude,
Brady's wicked busy.
yeah, this is a crazy year for Thumbs Up.
Yeah, we got
Like
shout out Red Sun,
right.
shout out Awa keeps dropping rad music. Um, yeah, you got the Enway LP coming. There's the Enswell EP eventually. Like, it's a number of these are like within the next couple months. Yeah. So it's an exciting time to be a part of like the Thumbs Up wave, but yeah, pretty much I knew when we had Past Life, I was like, we have a cool thing here. Here's a glimpse at the quality of the thing we're trying to make. Are you down? They were like, you know what? It's odd, but yeah, like let's do it. And so like I whenever people ask me like how it is being with Thumbs Up, that's like one of the first things I say is like working with Thumbs Up is sick because there's some informality to it. Like, yeah, they're a label, but like it's not like these big heavy contract and like locking us into timeline and X amount of releases. Brady just wants to amplify the shit they think is cool, and
Right.
it's cool to be a part of that like roster and community because I I constantly, even after hooking up with Thumbs Up, still see people saying like, how does Brady find all this cool music like ahead of time? Like, what's going on in Wisconsin? And so yeah, it all like felt very like right time for us. And yeah, we got a lot of love for the other bands on the label too. It's really cool.
Yeah, Thumbs Up is for sure like probably one of my top at least 3 to 5 labels that are out there doing stuff right now. I mean, my all my episodes kind of speak for themselves. Obviously, I've had almost half the roster it feels like on so far.
Yeah, shout out Honey Creek too.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
Honey Creek, Ben Quad, the others like Spread Sun, Garden Home, Mway, and I know I'm blanking. I can't. They're from Ohio, and I'm blanking on who they are, and it's gonna bug the shit out of me. Um,
Ooh, it's not
uh,
Bicycle Inn.
no. Hold on, I'm gonna have to pull it up. Otherwise, I'm gonna feel like such an asshole now. Um,
Arlen Gun Club.
yes, Arlen Gun Club has been on, and I think that's it that has been on so far from Thumbs Up.
Those are some major
Which
hitters.
yeah, dude, Riff Mafia makes sense all
Yeah.
the way. Uh, but no, that's awesome that you guys like made that connection and like were able to get that happening. It like you mentioned Brady did say it's a little unorthodox having signing and then just putting out the one single saying like we have stuff down the line because I remember um, shortly after the single came out you guys hit me up and I was like I want to do this so bad but
Yep.
it's I feel like it's so hard to do an episode around like a single and just kind of push everything so I'm so
Yep.
happy that like I was like yo soon as it's ready let me know I got like the dates for you and I'm so happy that it's finally here it's finally so close to being out at
I'm
the time
glad
of
you
recording
did. I'm glad
yeah
you stuck to that. Like that was the right move. I'm glad we like at least made that connection at that point. But yeah, we knew like it was like an odd thing for sure. I think we had done the music video too, but um we we were really just trying to push. That the thumbs up nation runs deep like
dude yeah
yeah, and so it was cool of Brady to be like, yeah, let's amplify you now because eventually this will be a part of the album. And it's been kind of fun. Even like I do a lot of our graphic design stuff, and finding ways to like make the branding of the newer stuff that we've been putting out towards the album similar or the same as what I had done for Past Life was fun to be like, nah, see, like we knew I use the same font. Like
before we kind of like transition past life I just want to say the music video for past life is such a great time. For people that haven't checked it out, not to spoil too much, but it's been out for like a year. You should have checked it out already.
yeah, yeah. Go
Um,
watch that shit.
like yeah, you guys kind of break into like a musical round and like pull down all these guitars and get everything set up and like have your like a whole set in there. Um, I, was it was it awkward at all to kind of fake breaking into this record store? Like, did anyone just happen to be cruising by and just be like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Oh yeah. Yeah, we first of all, like there's footage in the video of the like actual security cameras at Music Around that they helped us get. So that was like really cool. Shout out Music Around, Greenfield. They've been awesome to us in a number of ways. Like it's part of how we've gotten to level up gear over the years. Like they're critical. But yeah, it's funny. We're like sitting there filming, and it's like I think like Mike, our guitar player, works at that Music Around. So we had this connection, but I think even like the dude who let us in bounced for a little bit. So it's it's literally like the four of us in ski masks, like black robbery ski masks. And there's like we have the lights on so we can like set shit up, between scenes and stuff. And people are pulling up because it looks open, and we're in ski masks being like, nope, they're not open right now. Yeah, they're back open at 11 tomorrow. Like get the fuck out of here. Yeah, that was pretty funny, and nobody really like no like mall security or anything pulled up. Nobody like went and called the cops after that, so they must have figured out like a thing was happening. But yeah, that was definitely a funny approach. Like
Oh man, yeah, that's props to people for just like I don't know if it's props to people for just being like, oh, okay, they're
Yeah.
just getting robbed. We'll just go home.
I
We'll see
wonder
if
if
it's
that's
there
just like
tomorrow.
a bystander effect, right? You know what that is?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Someone else will call the cops.
yeah. But yeah, no, that's awesome that you were able to kind of splice in the security cam footage. But like even the shots going between those, and then even I think there's a couple shots where just the lighting that you have set up around with like all the lights off in the store, even those shots were like super sick. Like I loved how that video turned out. I mean, being as kind of simplistic, having a little bit of a storyline at the beginning, but then just kind of just doing your own thing and just getting to walk around and pull down whatever you guys
Yeah.
wanted was kind of cool.
Yeah. Shout out Sam Regani. He's a close friend and like collaborator of ours. We've done our 2 music videos with him. He's done a lot of photos with us. He did photography for the album. Um, so yeah, he's been like a critical homie. But the lights in the video are funny. That was like an afterthought. We use those live essentially with, and the joke at gigs and stuff is those are the screamo lights. Oh, you gotta have the screamo lights. You have to point lights at the ceiling.
Yeah.
Um, and
Do you
so
at
I
least have
brought
like the pressure pads on them or not?
no, we don't have anything to like turn them on and off. They're just kind of like
Okay.
on. Um, but yeah, I brought them as like a hey, we use these live. I brought them just in case. Well, we're like starting to shoot, and we're like, the like store lights are kind of like stale, and so we ended up like flipping them on, and it was one of those like, thank God it was like an afterthought kind of thing because it really worked out. But the video was fun because I remember asking the dude who let us in, like, we can grab anything. He's like, yeah, go for it. So I think I'm in the video. I'm playing some Jazz Master that's like $1,600 or some shit. And we left all the tags on them too because we didn't want to like have to like fuck with putting them back. So we're like, no, we're literally like playing the store models and we're bouncing. That was the whole story.
Yeah, I did notice that there's for sure like one of the group shots um where one of the dudes you can see the tag just kind of flailing, and I'm
Yep.
just like, oh dude, hell yeah. Like that's literally what I was hoping was happening, and it was nice to visually see it at the
It
same
was
time.
genuine. Yeah, yeah. We're straight up just playing stuff in the store. We literally grabbed like the biggest amps. We were like, let's go hog wild.
Uh so obviously all that camps out, kind of summer of 2023, and
Yep.
now here we are at the time of this recording in March of 2024. You've released your second single off this EP. Sorry, LP. My bad.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks
yeah,
for clarifying. You did, yeah.
yep.
It's technically a full length.
Called "The Worst of It," and I feel like it's another solid single to kind of lead up into this full length. How did it feel to finally put out the second single after kind of all this time?
Felt great. I mean, like we knew we were sitting on some cool songs. Admittedly, Past Life is the first song we recorded, had written for the album. Excuse me, beers. Um, but we knew we were sitting on some other cool tracks, but it was fun to get through the recording process and then kind of look at the whole batch. And I remember like early on in establishing like next moves, I was like, I feel like The Worst of It's a really cool entry next because it's kind of got it all as far as what I feel like we consider to be garden home tropes. But it's like in an odd format. Like normally we go lighter, medium, heavy, we just kind of like amp up the whole time and
Mm-hmm.
try to have like this big finale. And that one was the opposite in a way where we like start with the heaviest riff of the song. It was really literally like written backwards. Um, but we've got like title fight enjoyers in the band and shit, and that one got like pretty chorus heavy. It's a 4-minute song. I was just like, I don't feel like I felt like it was a really cool representation of what the rest of the record was going to be. Like whereas Past Life, we kind of technically probably didn't know yet. We still had to go record everything. Um, so yeah, it was fun to have what I thought were other singles in mind. There are other songs on the album that we feel like would have been cool singles, which is a good problem to have.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, the ones that we probably thought were going to be next, it was funny to be like, actually, like, what if we did this other, like, kind of more odd one for us? By the time this releases, we'll have put out a third single as well. We're dropping a surprise. It's literally this Wednesday. We're dropping a surprise, no promo song. We're trying to just like completely raw dog one and see what happens.
Well, I mean, by the time this episode comes out, I think when we talked about it, pushing this
And
one like week after the album comes out. So what's this third? I know I'll see it here in a couple
yeah,
days, but like, what's this third single, and like, why did you decide of this song to be the third one?
yeah, this one's called Not Today.
Hmm.
Why, we played this one live a few times. It was probably written in more like the back half of the album. It's track 7 out of 8 on the record, and we played it live a few times. And I remember playing it in Madison, and Brady and Louie from Tiny Voices were there. And there's like a part in the song where like we try to work something odd into each song. One of my like geeky music things is I hate when you like check out a record and the songs blend together because they're just kind of doing the same thing over and over. So like we kind of really like try to find a way to like have something different. Like there's a song with like the like little Latin beat kind of thing, and we try to find something odd to like draw your attention to. And so this one's got a blast beat in it, and like we literally were like, this is the Scrams one. Let's just have one that's just like over the top. Our I guess like our heaviest sort of song. Um, that that one felt like a cool one to bring out next. But yeah, I remember playing it live. We did the blast beat thing, and I could hear Louis after the song being like, "They got blast beats!" Like, he's always a good hype man. But yeah, and I remember those two came up to us after that, like that's gotta be the next single. You guys gotta put that one out. And so like I said, there were a number that we probably felt like were cool options for singles. There's ones that maybe in 3 years will be like, we should have put out whatever. But I'm really excited about this one. Like it is heavy. It's got a lot of like, again, the classic Garden Home stuff. We feel like we look forward. It's like got kind of like kinetic energy. It's dynamic. It's got high and low points. Um, so I don't know. It was just it'll be fun to release one that people will be sort of familiar with if they've seen us. Um, but yeah, I feel like something I'm trying to do with the singles is like give something new from us each time. I don't want like the singles to come out and be like, oh, they did that in the last one. Like I want you to go check out the record because wow, like each of these had something odd. Like
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to do it because, one thing that I feel like, and this is nothing against like any band, like sometimes when bands release the singles and they're so just kind of ingrained in like the same stuff, it just like seems like I feel like I just listened to this song
right.
last week with the other one, but for sure, like I said, kind of before we started recording, like the nice thing about this album is it's just got all these different moments throughout it where together it's all cohesive. It's one Garden Home LP, but at the same time, like each song could be kind of its own little thing
Mm-hmm.
because of the little intricacies that are in there. And um,
Thank
I
you,
think it's great
Michael.
that, dude, of course. That's why I like I would have been fine with any song being the third single, mainly because I love every song on here. But I like the fact that you're using Not Today to kind of do that little bit of a change up from, the worst of it to this one. Like it's a smart idea.
Yeah, we felt like Worst of It was kind of like a that and Past Life were kind of like poppy versions of us. I make a joke that we were just pop scrams. Um, we're turnstiling scrams. Um, oh boy, just use them as a verb. uh, uh, but yeah, we felt like this was a bit of a corner to turn to be like, we got heavy shit, like, and I part of the thought with picking this one too is we're on this Saturday. This will have already passed. We were playing the Frail Body release show this weekend, and it felt like a cool way to help promo that show to be like, all right, here's what we feel like is our most scrams or like heavy kind of song, and then to go play with the number one scrams daddies.
Right.
Yeah, that'll
Yeah, that
be
should
a
be it'd be a sick time.
that'll be a cool show. Yeah, yeah. Their album hasn't dropped yet at the time of the recording of this either, but I those singles they have out so far have been on like steady repeat for me. And shout out to them. I feel like they did kind of the thing I'm talking about, where each song's got its own adventure. It goes on highs, lows. Yeah, I don't. Have you checked out any of those new songs?
I'm a little behind on the newer stuff, but
That's right.
yeah.
I recommend them.
Okay. I know obviously kind of how we talked about earlier where you're being the prisoner of running the Twitter or X account. There's also another band that you've been kind of you started listening to with like their new stuff lately because I think you posted something where it was like, don't send me any more new music. I'm listening to this
Gouge away,
until the end of time. Yeah.
gouge away. I can't stop. I mean, I have to imagine you're probably folks in your position are probably so busy and overwhelmed with check out my shit, listen to this, blah blah blah, and then you also have to like find time to listen to the shit you just like to listen to,
Yeah.
like yeah. So I totally get it. Like it feels like a lot. I think I even tweeted one time like DIY has done tragic things to my music library because like I got so many like one-off songs and splits and XYZ of it's all listed and labeled in odd ways, and I'm like I get a little like picky about how clean my library and
Oh,
places like that can be because I just want to go find the shit I want. And I had to like let that go a little bit where it was just like I want to check out all the cool new music, and I'm not gonna like forego that for this like this cleanliness thing. But it's tough. Like there's shit literally if I open my phone right now, I'm like, here's like 10 albums I've been meaning to check out and can't get to right now. Like, where do you find the time?
dude, yeah, 100%. I know a couple of my friends what they do, and it's been something that I wanted. I keep telling myself I need to start doing because I definitely need to start doing it. But they basically start like at the beginning of every year, they start a new playlist of just like new
Oh,
music from 2024. So if something pops up or they listen to like a single off like a new record, they'll just put the whole record into that playlist, and then just like listen to that playlist at different times like throughout the year, so you can kind of get at least portions of it. You might not listen to like the record right when it comes out, but you'll listen to it eventually. Um,
I dig
definitely
that.
like a
That's a smart
yeah,
move. That I can't believe I literally never thought of that. But
right.
I might will probably have to go implement that because yeah, I there's I mean even thumbs up alone. The shit to like keep up with lately has been a lot. Red Sun's
Yeah,
crushing it. There's new songs are really cool. I'm excited that.
dude, that whole EP fucking slaps so hard.
Oh yeah,
Oh
I
my
suppose you
god.
heard it, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Quinn offered it to me, but I'm hesitant with the leak culture. I was worried that I was gonna like owe something back ever if somebody wants to like leak something to me. So until our thing is out and I have nothing to even offer, I'm not inquiring for leaks.
I mean that's smart. You the same time like with Red Sun comes out on the 5th, so you only got really like another week to
Oh, that's
power
true.
through.
Okay, I'm all right. I'm okay.
Yeah. Hey, you got this.
Yeah, yeah.
um but speaking of the album came out on April 19th. Um so people can stream everything that's out on this record, and like I said, this whole record throughout is just a great listen. I gotta say, personally, my favorite song off the record, and it's kind of surprising because it's also the very last song on the record, is False Spring. Just the intro that kind of gets you hooked, and then like the backing like harmonies, and like I really I like I'm a big counterparts the difference between Hell and Home fan, like early 100th, and like
Ooh,
stuff like
yeah.
that,
Hell yeah,
um,
yeah.
and like this whole record like really reminded me and took me through like those early times of listening to the difference between Hell and Home, and then when I get to that last song, it ties in like a I can't think of the name off the record, but it ties in
Memorial.
between like sorry, go ahead.
Memorial.
Yeah. It ties in between that, and then I think there's a 100th song off their second EP that kind of does the same thing, that you kind of have going on. It just really tied me back to those, and then just like letting those like that like whole like spoken word portion like kind of just dig deep inside me. Like that whole song is like I that was my favorite part about like hitting repeat. It was just like I get to go through all these great songs, but then I get to listen to this song again and just go.
Thank you, Michael. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. Like I don't know if you've seen us geeking online a little bit about it too, but like Brady has said the same thing. Like it's it's has been fun for us, you know, speaking of everything we just did with the singles. There was a pretty like conscious choice to not put out the first or the last songs on the record because kind of want you to experience them that way.
Right.
And False Spring is like the joke in the band chat has been that like it's our best song, it's our favorite. Maybe that should have been a single, you know, like it does all this like stuff that we're really proud of too. And we were like, no, like let it stay this like punctuation to the record. Um yeah, I feel like I'm really trying to not like brag, but I feel like we did a good job uh letting it be that like punctuation. Like it feels like it concludes the record. And um I like even teased the band. We're like writing, and I remember there was a tracking day of vocals where I was like, I have to plow through these couple, like I would do like 2 or 3 songs in a day was kind of my limit. And
Mm-hmm.
we got to False Spring, and somebody was like, "Are you gonna do that one?" And I was like, "I'm trying to like finish this one. I have these lyrics I'm really proud of, but I'm trying to like protect them for what I feel like is a cool song." And I'm glad I held out because like I feel like that one came together so naturally for us. Like it was one of the last songs written for the record. Um, I don't want to say like it was crunch time, like we were rushing, but it was like we are finishing the record, you know, like. And it was cool to like have that one feel so effortless. And then we get done with it, and yeah, Brady was like immediately captivated when I sent them the record with that one. I played it for my parents. My stepmom cried. Like it feels like it's having like a cool effect on people. So yeah, that's one in particular that I hope people stick around for on the record, because we've talked a lot about the psychology of attention spans and shit even now too, with our phone age. And Stella, she's like making her bed very loud next to me. um we've talked about the age of phones and attention span, and it's like sometimes people like don't want to listen to the full record. They get, okay, I've had enough by like 6 7 songs, I'm going to move on to another thing I want to listen to. Or a common one that I can even relate to is my drive to work takes like 15 minutes. I'm not getting through a whole record, and
Right.
the chances I just like put that back on or leave it on when I leave work are probably lower. So, you know, like yeah, that's one I hope people go connect with for like. So thank you for highlighting it. Yeah.
Dude, of course. Like, I gotta obviously like. Yes, it could have definitely been a great single, but at the same time, to have not heard it as a single and then just like found it by listening to the whole record and getting to that one and being like, holy shit, um, that was such. And you don't have to brag for yourself. Like, I will hype you up on this. Like, that was such a smart fucking move. Uh, because it would have been one thing for it to come out as its own single and like have heard it and been like, okay, cool. But then like knowing it's already in the record, if you would have listened to it as a single, just you would have gotten to it, kind of been like, okay, I've this is the end of the record, okay, whatever. But like getting this whole build up throughout the record to get to that makes it its own thing and like stands out so much more. And then kind of like to bounce off what you said, where because I've been you know accused, like nah, not accused, accused isn't the right word. I've been guilty of this as well, where someone will put out a full LP and you get, by the time you get to like 5 or 6 of the songs, you're kind of like, okay, like I've kind of figured out this album, like I don't really care about the back four. um
I
and
know
for
that
people
feeling.
listening,
Yeah.
yeah, for people listening, like this entire record, 8 songs, it's 23 minutes. This is one that I was not like, by like song 2 or 3, I wasn't like, okay, like I've got it, like I figured this out, I don't need to listen to more. This is one that like I was still hooked for every song. The transitions throughout, like the little intricacies, like I mentioned earlier, like kept me hooked. Like this is a solid record that everyone should be listening to right now.
Thank you. I'm Yeah, I'm really honored just to hear you say that. It's like overwhelming a little bit to do something to this scale, right? Like we've never applied ourselves. So hey, I'll join you. I'm ready for my next one too.
All right, let's try to do it quietly, and then it
Yeah.
slipped.
We've never like gotten after it so hard, and I'm just like really proud of the dudes in the band for buckling down. We followed through. There were stressful moments throughout. Shout out to Brady for the oddity of our approach, but yeah, it's there's some songs we're really proud of, and yeah, I do stand by that. I think each one's got its own thing to offer, and I got to shout out Cody Ratley, who recorded the album. He's a close friend of ours. Literally, if you walk out of our practice space, the door immediately to our, like, if you put your hand out like that, you would touch the door to his space. So he's literally our neighbor. We've known him for probably like a decade now. He just like gets our thing. He's in a shoegaze band called Shame Wave. He's in a hardcore band, World I Hate. Um, and so he's kind of like got a little bit of both of the sides of the thing we're playing too, where it's like, yeah, we want the guitars to sound like big, but it's not exactly a hardcore record either, you know, like I feel like he does a really good job representing us, but he he brought out speaking on the transition thing specifically, he was fun to have around you finishing a song or some shit, and he would just like spin a dial on one of our pedals. And you know, there was, I remember in the song Hot Water Cold Hands, there's this pretty like long clean intro, and there's this part in the song where I'm like, oh, I love that like swell you put behind the guitar right there. It just is like building this like tension, and then right before it hits, the pitch of it drops. And I was like, that's so cool, Cody. And he was like, we recorded that. You know, I was like, oh, okay. Like, I now that you say that, like, yeah, that would be one of my pedals. I know what thing we did right there, but I didn't remember that, like, capturing that moment, you know, and he put it in a really cool way. And so, yeah, he definitely gets credit as being like a voice on the record. There's even a couple like secret clean vocals of his throughout the record too, where he's either like in there with us or he added something, and so he kind of gets like a producer credit on the record. He was playing with us, you know.
Dude, hell yeah! I mean, at the end of the day, like, you know, like we mentioned earlier, you want your bandmates to be your friends, and you don't want it to feel like work. But at the same time, whoever is, you know, recording you and kind of doing the producing for the record, you also want them to kind of be the secret, like, fifth unknown member of the band, because you don't want to like go to someone that like they're just thinking of it like a 9 to 5, like, okay, I gotta fucking record these guys, get it out, get it out, get it out. You want them to like have input and like have fun and like have a good time with it. And that's awesome that you've made that friendship, obviously, you know, being neighbors for so long, but like to be willing to from either end to like input stuff and like kind of just mess around and just have a fun time recording and like
Yep.
making this amazing record.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the first song on the record, Right By Me, has some shaker in it in like a breakdown, and that was just, if you want to go specifically go hear a Cody influence, that was him being like, you know what this needs right here, you know, like he did a cool job of he the whole way through he was like, this needs auxiliary percussion. You're gonna think it's missing once you hear it with it, kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, he did a cool job like making the record sound full all the way through. But yeah, sorry, just one last comment on False Spring. Uh, we you brought up counterparts, and I'm a huge difference between Hell and Home fan. Like, this isn't like a direct reference, but I have a Compass tattoo that is like kind of a nod to that song of theirs, and um that record was like really important for me and a couple guys in the band. I have to point out, Mike fucking hates counterparts. And it's funny that he writes all the riffs and we get compared to them, but I'm sure part of that credit is like vocally and a lot of the other shit going on. And
Yeah.
but yeah, it's, most of us really love them, and I love the comparison with them because I think I said to Brady, like, we're less technical but more emotionally mature counterparts. I probably got 10 years on whatever age Brendan was when they wrote that anyways. So uh but yeah, False Spring, like we wanted to use it as a single that got talked about, and I was like, it's kind of a power move to leave what is probably like your one of your best songs to be found on the record. And the song that I've always thought of that with is Compass from Counterparts on that record. They did not put it out as a single. And I remember like finally checking out that record and being like, holy shit, how did they not put this out already? Like, this is by far the best song on this record. And I thought that was so sick to be like, no, you have to go experience this to find it. Like,
Oh yeah, and putting it at the end, that's even more of a power move to just be like, no, you got to listen to everything, experience everything, and then get to that. Um, like I like that straight up favorite song on the record. That's my
thank you, man.
favorite Counterparts album. Like I think that album was like the one that really got me. Like I was on this weird like I don't know if it's like hill or what, but like or fence or something, but like getting into hardcore and that like side of things. But the difference between Hell and Home is the one thing that kind of like bridged that gap of like oh okay all right this is what's
Yeah.
going on, and then in enveloping it. So anytime I find something that like sparks those memories of like those first times listening to that record, and this whole record kind of did the same thing for me. And then
Ooh,
especially like I said, getting to Fall Spring and then hearing those and then finding those comparisons. You know, not to anger Mike, but like not to compare you guys more to Counterparts, but it just
he's fine.
it
He's
it,
fine.
it just it just sparked like good memories in me. As much as sad as that song can be, like it sparked those memories to tie it back in and like really make me fall in love with that song even more.
Thank you. Yeah, no, he definitely gets the, people are relating us to a popular thing or something that they love, and so he's always very grateful to be like be compared to something that people hold in high regard. But that's a huge compliment even for me too, because yeah, I share your love for that record, and that's pretty huge to hear, because um it would be hard to say that our record isn't, at least from my influence, inspired by that sort of shit. Like there, I can't say that the spoken word kind of portion in False Spring is a direct nod to, I think the song is Decay. I think I said it wrong before. Where they kind of do the spoken word thing, and theirs gets heavier, where ours is at the end. But I couldn't help but like have a lot of Spute in my head a little bit and stuff like that too. And um that was one that was like written pretty, that portion of it was written at practice, like while we were writing it, where I was just like, I heard it, I had to write it down. They're like, can you get off your phone so we can keep writing the song? And I'm like, no, I have to write this down. um it's one that I'm really excited about like doing live too, because, which we haven't done yet. We're probably just gonna play the record front to back at our release show in April. Or we will have just played it front to back. uh, um, that song is one in particular I'm really excited to play at that show, because I don't know how I'm not gonna like get emotional saying that ending portion in a setting that I like genuinely can apply it to. I'm grateful for all the time I've had, thankful for all the friends I've had, and like I will literally in that scenario be surrounded by friends and family. And um it's tough for me to not feel like the record in a lot of ways is like for my community too. It's for my people, it's for Milwaukee, it's for Wisconsin, it's for Thumbs Up, it's for emo, and all that sort of shit. And I feel like what got me really excited about wanting to do this, I had a buddy ask me like, why do you keep putting out music? Like, do you just love the attention? Like what's your end goal here? And I like said to him that the longer this band has been a thing, the more people want to participate in it, even if it's just coming to gigs and stuff. That goes a long way. That's community. You need those people coming out. And now I feel like I'm putting on for all of those people, and in the moments of stress of like getting the record done, I was like, there's times where you're like, I don't want to fuck this up. And I realized like throughout a lot of that, I was like, it's because I want to do it well for these people around us, like, so it's cool to hear you say all that shit, like truly, because that's what it means to me, is that, like, I hope it will have this impact with people down the road.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what it's like. Either on day one or day two once this record comes out, and just the amount of people that kind of flock to it. Um, in the best kinds of ways. Like I know it's always fun. Like obviously, like I'm not putting out this record. Like I don't have to worry about it on that day. But it's cool to see like people that like I consider friends, or like that someone that's putting out like music and stuff like that, and seeing like a single or an album get dropped, and just watching everyone just fucking flock to it and just go for it. Like right before I had Red Sun on, they had just dropped that first single, and like I knew that I was having them on. I had listened to everything already, but it was cool to see like everyone just flock to basically like this new hot band on that's doing stuff, and just from like an outside perspective, just being like, holy shit, like there's like it's crazy that people are connecting to it and like loving it this way or this way. And then it's just that's like one cool thing about my position, is just seeing everyone go to stuff that I'm like everyone that I have on, like I love their music and I hype it up all the time, but it's nice seeing like other people experience it too and like hype it and love it as much as I do.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, first of all, like shout out to you for, again, on a community level, you choose to spend your time with this way, and that's so fucking critical. Thank you for amplifying voices, like, um that's it's so cool that you play such a critical role, and you keep it, accessible to even these bands who have a song out, like it. I feel like people can get gatekeepy so quick with, well, my platform, we don't, and we don't waste our time on blah blah blah. And I think it's really cool that you kind of are like being a music meteorologist. You're like, this is gonna be sick, and then you get to literally watch everyone like go. You predict the rain a little bit, like,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a couple months ago, depending on when you think about whether this was now recorded or at the time this episode comes out. Time's a construct, but I had tweeted something of like, because you know we're right now the Wax Bodega tour is going on.
Yeah.
Arm's Length, Ben Quad, Saturdays at Your Place, Carly Gosgrove. Um, I've had three of the four of that entire tour package on the podcast, which is crazy to think, to see where all these bands are fucking at. And just that's like going back to like what I said, like that's the one cool thing of just like I get to sit down with someone as they're like on that rise and just seeing like where they go from there. Like I sat down with Arm's Length,
That's
and then
cool.
they kind of just took off. Ben
Yeah.
Quad, and then they took off, and then like I just hope that every band that I sit down with, obviously it's not like the Beers with Fans effect, but like I just hope that every band that I sit down and talk with like continues to have that like trajectory of just like fucking going and just going.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you gotten to follow up? Like, have you done like subsequent interviews? I think I saw you at Kerosene Heights or somebody on like for a second time or something. Like,
So I'm slowly getting into second rounds with some bands. But yeah, Kerosene Heights, I had the first time I had Kerosene Heights on, I sat down with Justin, and then the second time Kerosene Heights came on, I sat down with Chance. So that was kind of cool to kind of get like two different perspectives, especially since when I talked to Justin, um, they I think at that point were just about to go to the studio to record, or they just got done recording that full length.
the
So it wasn't
southeast
even
southeast of somewhere or whatever.
yeah, so it wasn't even like I think actually I think Justin sent me demos of it after we got done recording, but it wasn't even like on the street yet.
Whoa.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But there's a few bands that I've been talking to that might be making comebacks. But it's also fun just to like kind of talk to new people.
Of course.
unless, but I have had some people, not to contradict myself, that I feel like it needs to be a good gap if I'm going to have someone back on.
Mhm.
Mainly because I
Well,
want to see I want to see what's new, what's next for them.
that's what I wanted to inquire about with like Kerosene. Was it cool to? I mean, the record came out. It got all like the correct, like the right amount of attention, if not enough, because the record is fucking amazing. It was probably like top 5 for me last year. I jammed the shit out of that record. And when I saw they had like come back on with you, I like had that thought where I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like he'll literally get to be like, what has happened? You know,
Yeah,
what has it been like putting out the record? You know, how does that feel? You know, like that's got to be cool to have them kind of like come land the plane again, and you get to like refuel. Like, hey, how's it going? Like, I think as you can continue to build your dynasty here, that it'll be cool to see what which ones come back and are able to be like, here was our experience, in little ways. By doing that, they hand off tips and tricks and shit to the new bands, the next Red Sun that's gonna blow the fuck up.
right.
And, yeah.
I gotta say, shout out to Chance. If they're listening, one of the one thing I really loved about having Kerosene Heights back on was it wasn't something where I had reached out to them to be like, hey, you guys want to come back on? It was like they hit me up to be like, hey, we want to do this again, and I was
Cool.
like that warmed me to the core where I was like, dude, of course, like let's fucking set this up. Let's do this. Let's chat. So I really appreciated Chance reaching out and to doing that. Because like you said, it's nice to see where all the homies are at. Like you said, kind of like refueling for a second and then see what they're gonna take off and do next. And from what I was told, there's keep an eye on Kerosene Heights this year. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. That's what's crazy. Like I feel like them, and it would be hard to not like throw Mway in this conversation. It's it's really cool to be so near the like flames of shit is gonna be a big deal like that, like where you're like I'm trying to like think of an analogy here, but like you can feel the heat right now on Mway. And the thing isn't even done like building yet. They're gonna drop the record. They have more singles coming, like, and they're already rocking like 10, 12K monthly sometimes on Spotify, and it's just like cool to see. Like y'all are doing well already, and you're gonna put out a record now. Like, how high does the mountain go? Like
Right.
it's cool. Like, so yeah, them Kerosene Heights, like it'll be really cool to see what they like do next. Um,
What I'm excited for is to see
build on
what
that.
everyone else does in response to that. Because I feel like this last year, especially like 2023, I felt like was this great emo revival. And then so far, 2024 has just been putting out killer music from everyone. So I'm excited to see like what they do and what it sparks everyone else to do to kind of like do that sportsmanship of like one upping them and
Yeah,
like building from there and keeping going.
I just saw, we talked about Gouge Way's new record earlier, and I must have listened to that record front to back like 3 times a day. Like I can't get enough of it right now. Um, but you got them, Manic and Pussy, both just dropped like both killer records. You just had Soul Glow on Tiny Desk. I don't know if you caught that, but that was like first hardcore band to do a Tiny Desk. It was just like sick to see. It's officially been breached, like how far some like modern punk is getting into like commercial avenues, and people like you and I who are like on the ground floor of the scene, we're hearing shit as it's like cooking, and then you never know who's going to be the next like military gun, or like is about to like blow the fuck up after dropping a record and tour with American baseball. I don't even know who to like consider the big one
Right.
right now, but like it's crazy. And I saw someone refer to it as like the modern shape of punk to come. Like there's so much boundary pushing shit coming out right now that I think there was this wave of shit born during the pandemic, and that was like really critical era of stuff because like there was all this like darkness. But now we're getting, it's been a couple years, like we're getting this like new wave of people pushing off, they're like jumping off of all the weird shit people cooked up in their bedrooms, and like, and I just feel like it'll be really fucking cool. We're talking about counterparts and the difference between Hell and Home, is like 10-year-old record now. It'll be cool to see when some of the records that are coming out right now hit that milestone and what sort of shit is coming out at that time, because it'll be tough to say stuff coming out at that point won't be inspired by Sweet Pill and Pool Kids, and like there's some cool new big shit that I think is really gonna like shape what you're hearing in a couple years.
Oh, 100%.
It'll be
And I'm
exciting to
I'm
see.
very stoked. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
also very excited and stoked to see what it brings. Um, but to kind of dive back into this record, I
Sorry.
got a couple. No, no, you're fine. I love tangents, and I love that whole direction that we just went. Like that was a great points throughout. I just have a couple more questions on this record that I want to make sure we get to, but I didn't say it at the beginning, but yeah, tangents are cool. Like I love to see where those go.
Hell yeah,
Um,
hell yeah.
one thing that it's kind of a reoccurring theme on these episodes is I really love like sound clips or like things integrated into songs, whether they're like from pop culture or whatever. Um, there's a sound clip at the end of Grimm that I'm not sure what it is, but it's you know which one I'm talking about. The Miss
Yeah, yeah.
Clausen.
It's probably the only one we got on the record
Yeah.
for the most part. Yeah.
What is that and what's it from?
Um, I guess like I want to just be respectful quick. There's like a little bit of a suicide trigger warning here. But Dave Clausen is a friend of mine that took his life in 2020. My dad was the one that found him. And it was like close. Those two were really good friends, and Dave was kind of between my dad and mine's ages, and so when he was around, he was kind of more of this like big brother role for me. Like we were close. I'm an only child, so like I didn't, I've had a lot of faux brothers and sisters in my life, and he was just like cool, sweet guy to have around while I was growing up, and then you know, COVID was hard on people, and classically with people like that, writing was on the wall in probably a number of ways, and it kind of like shook my circle a little bit. This was like somebody who seemed to have like a lust for life. He liked camping and just like being outside, and uh it was a kind of a ride. But yeah, I guess like, so Grimm, the lyrics for Grimm were probably written like year of 2020, and I probably sat on them for a while. That song was probably the second written on the record. um and it's pretty much directly a reference to my relationship with Dave. The hook is, the Reaper's coming to keep you, not as a foe but as a friend, to guide you peacefully to the end. And that was me like trying to make peace with his departure, I guess. And it's odd when you're that close to something like that and somebody's making a choice, instead of it was unexpected kind of thing. And and then the hook of that song is, or the main verse of that song is about the day I found out. And I was just like, I remember driving home from work and the clouds were just like huge and epic. It was one of those days where like they're just giant, white, fluffy, but the sun was still out. It wasn't like they were blocking the sun. And I was like, I'll never see this shit again. Like he chose to not be around any of this. And that was hard for me personally, and I feel like there's just a lot of people that can relate to losing somebody like that. And so I went back to my dad after the song was like written and done, and I'm like, I have what I feel like is an ode to Dave. It's not like this focus on the negativity of what happened. It's actually like, there's a line like, I hope you found peace. Like I'm trying to like conclude what happened in my own way. And I was like, do you have any cool like audio bites of Dave that I could like put on the record. I always I always really, not that it's a direct reference to this, but I love the Fiddlehead song Life Notice. There's like a really sweet opening recording of some woman talking about her best friend in grade school and the relationship that they had growing up. And then it turns out at the end of that like tale that she died of an opioid overdose. Um, um, and that song touched me during that time, and so like there's some references to that throughout it, and so I wanted to do something similar to that. So I hit my dad up for this audio clip, and for a long time he was like, all I have are these like funny jingles Dave had left him as voicemails that were usually about how big his dick was or something, like, it was like just goofy dude stuff. And it was like, there's a melody to it or a beat, and it was going to be really hard to make work for a song. And then like the record was like damn near done, and he showed up in my inbox on my email like, hey, I found this voicemail to somebody else looking through this like archive of Dave's stuff. He's like, I removed all of the personal stuff in it, and now it's just this really sweet message about, I've got news and I love and I miss you, call me soon. And we kind of like the ambiguity of what's the news, and like, what is this weird like open-ended kind of, as much as I'm concluding it, like a lot of it was in memory of him. There's some commentary on like the insert of the vinyl too that is about, in loving memory to Dave. And so yeah, that's him at the end of the track, is him leaving a buddy of ours a voicemail. And I just was trying to memorialize him, I guess, in some ways with that. But I've done it a few ways with the band, not to like totally steal the tangent here, but uh on the Disposable EP, I put my cat on the back of it, and that came out in 2019. He, unfortunately, Grizzly died in 2020, a year later. And I remember being like, oh, I'm so fucking glad I did that. Like, I'm so glad I like, it was like kind of off the cuff idea, just like, oh, people like cats. But I was like, man, like, I really like made him live forever with this now. And some of that's present in that song. And even on the insert for the vinyl, there's pictures of each of our dogs on it, because I was like, we got to get them in there when we can, like it's not often you like get that chance. So yeah, that's what that audio clip is.
Dude, well, one, I'm sorry for your loss, but
Thank you.
also I feel like that's a great way to memorialize someone, to add that in. And yeah, I no, no words, but yeah, I think that's a great moment to do.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I hope, like I said, I hope literally throughout the whole record, one of the reasons I keep doing this shit and writing lyrics and making screamo music is I just like I have connected with music so much in my life. It saved me a number of ways. And hope, I guess, like I hope at the end of the day someone connects with that and it might help them. Past life had a lot of that to it too. Like when we put that single out, there's some nods to suicidal ideations, I guess, throughout that song. And it's some shit that I feel like a lot of people our age can relate to, and even beyond that. And a lot of the record is almost like personal reminders of how good shit can be. I'm sure, I don't know if you kind of like picked up, there's a little bit of a theme in my opinion throughout the record where there's almost like a call to action in each track, where it's like, yeah, maybe some negativity, or like, here's the strain here, but it's not so bad, and like here are ways to cope and like get through and things get better. And there's, I try to work like positivity into each of the tracks. And there's even one of those in at the end of Grim, I have that like kind of like call out. I'm literally like leaving the question like, have you gone as far as you can go, or are you able to fight through and find that you've got more depth. um so yeah, that's I guess that's some of the seriousness of the record. Yeah.
I feel like every song needs to have a little bit of seriousness, and I think that's one reason that I think so many people will like be able to connect with it so well, is just like the people that are living through life right now and kind of our ages are going through shit. Some more than others, some harder than others.
Yeah.
Um, to find something like this and connect with it is nice to have. Not there's a lot of records that I connect with, but not everyone is connectable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
So
I know
it's
what
nice.
you mean.
Yeah, so it's nice to have a record that you can really connect with on a few different fronts.
Yeah. I had people reach out, even in this last year of Past Life being out and say how much it helped them in a moment and stuff. And I try not to like take that weight on that like I have to be like everyone's savior or something with this stuff, but yeah, like it's how I operate in my own life. I'm just kind of like dumb happy where I just like am a little like forcibly optimistic, and so to have dark thoughts, have negativity, have moments of pessimism, and have the record like focus on that just like would not have felt like a representation of me, especially at 33. I'll be by the time this comes out, and uh I've done 3 years of therapy now. I started in 2020 during the pandemic and stuff, and that's been really critical. My therapist literally is getting a credit on the record. I gave her a shout out in my thank you section. Um, so yeah, I tried to, I guess, like relay some of that growth too, because yeah, I couldn't let it all be like negative sounding. It's not everything is that bad.
Yeah. Um, my last question pertaining to the record, and for a lot of people, doing a self-titled is a big step. Usually, you got to feel like that's your magnum opus. That's the best you can do. Which I really like. Just hearing this record, I know that there's so much behind the scenes, but like, how what was the thought process behind doing this one as Garden Home, the self-titled LP? Because I know it's a big step, and to be able to or to want to be like this is us, this
Yeah,
is Garden Home.
good question. Thank you. Uh, um, I do. I'm not, obviously everyone was consulted, but I guess like I have a lot of direction in the branding. I do a lot of our graphic design shit. Um, the album art was like pretty clear vision of mine. Um,
Which came out great, by the way. I just want
Thank
to say,
you.
like, it's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
crisp, so clean.
I can't. I've never had such a vision for something like that where it was like I need to build the set and like blah blah blah, and yeah, literally in my basement right now it's still set up because I'm bringing it to the release show. But um yeah, we like literally built this physical set in the basement to take the photo in, and I knew I wanted this like bouquet illustrated in that was like overgrowing. And it's been funny like trying to like recollect the order in my head because I'm not quite sure if I was like, oh, this is Garden Home encapsulated in this image,
Mm.
or if it was an idea I had and I was like, oh, like that plays into our namesake. But um I'm trying to like be careful to not like speak for everybody in the band. um for me, being self-titled was necessary or appropriate because I do feel like this is a good representation of what we have to offer. um I've I've already maybe you can relate with making your episodes, but people are always like, "Oh, this is so exciting when it comes out," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm already on like the three ahead of it," like,
Yeah.
um, and it. I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought a little bit. I wanted to make it self-titled because it is a full grasp of what we have to offer. Oh, and I'm not sure if we did another release, another full length, we'll see what shape that ends up taking someday if it does. But something that I feel like I would find fun is how are we going to make it different? How is it going to be different than the first LP? And I don't know if that means involving other people, another person, a singer to come in. We have other musician friends. I was really insistent on this one about not having any features. I was like, this one's us. There's no bass drops. There's no like this. This is all made by Garden Home, like so for a lot of those reasons, like it just felt appropriate to be like, this is us, this is what we got. The album art idea I had felt appropriate for the namesake. It's this bouquet in a room, and it's kind of like overgrowing the frame in some ways, and I just like I couldn't help but feel like, at least for me, I want it to be a little open ended. I want people to make their own summation of it. But the flowers for me were a bit of like the amalgamation of who we are. It's just like this mix of JD likes hip hop, and you can hear some of that in how he drums, and Mike doesn't like grunge music, but yet we keep forcing it in different ways. Like it's just like the little ways in which we like compare and contrast each other, and I don't know, it felt repeatedly appropriate. Other album names got floated throughout, and each time we would go back, no, let's go self-titled. Okay, well, here's another one. No, let's go self-titled. So yeah, I guess that would be my answer to that question, is that like it the record is a full representation of us. We don't, in our current form, have more to offer. This is everything we got. I think I made a joke to Kyle Kinney from Mway where I was like, pardon my cuss, but I was like, we're showing our whole cock. This is the you're not just seeing the shaft. This is the whole thing we got.
No, I think it's like, I don't know, you mentioning all this and then like me listening to it, and I don't know if it's just because I listened to it so many times, but I can't think of this record being named anything else. Like it works so perfectly uh as a self-titled of like, we're Garden Home, this is who we are, this is us. Where we take it from here, that's on us, but this is us right here.
Yep.
And I think it works so well. Like I can't stress enough like how much I've enjoyed this album, and how much everyone that's listening to this episode should go listen to this album. Whether you pause right now or you wait till this episode's done and go listen to it, just jam it as much as you can. It's truly a great album.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm anxious and eager to see how people respond to it. We've got a couple, I guess like a few things I should talk about is like we've got a couple dates coming up that will be coming up when this airs. If we've got one thing we got that we can talk about is coming up. Yeah, we're doing a little tour with Tiny Voices, so become close homies of ours, and I'm excited that we were able to get this like really solid representation of us assembled, and put it out, hit the road with those homies. We're playing the Gnargaritaville Fest in Tulsa. Again, there's a bunch of thumbs up homies in Oklahoma now too. So we'll have Red Sun and the others like us, and I'm just excited to like go there and connect with a bunch of other musicians and stuff. And I'm glad we will like finally have this thing to like really show for us and have like pride behind. We've wanted to like tour for a long time, but we got 4 dudes with full-time jobs, and 3 of us are in pretty committed relationships. And there was a conversation last year about like, if we're gonna hit the road, let's make it for something, and I feel like we're pulling that off, and that'll be cool. And then we got Fuaxchella in June, and yeah, I hope like between those couple things we're able to like amplify this to a place where like a good chunk of people can find it. And yeah, I guess we'll see what happens after that. It's on everyone else then.
Yeah, dude, I'm truly stoked to see what the future looks like for Garden Home. Like I said earlier, like this has been an episode that I've been wanting to do for a long time. So I'm really stoked. One, not just on the record, but just like to see where you guys take it from here and just what happens next. Like it's great that you guys are playing Gnargaritaville and Fuaxchella 7. Which go get your tickets for Fuaxchella because that will sell out. Gnargaritaville probably will as well. But like it's like I'm just so stoked on like what's been happening so far this year. Before we start to transition, is there anything that I might have missed that you want people to know about between Garden Home or The Record. Um, I usually say that differently, but yeah, is there anything that I might have missed between those?
Talked about the record. We talked about the art. Here, can I look at something quick?
Yeah.
I have a note I would reference to. Um, I feel like I should pull Stella on camera quick too, just because she's my baby. Um, yeah, I did. We talked about Samargani and how much he's helped with the album art and with the general photography and videography with us. But I do have to shout out Lee Beam as well. Did the illustration on the record. That has to be mentioned because they were who I had in mind from the beginning. I feel like they smashed it. They worked with our kind of hectic timeline, and so big shout out to them. But yeah, other than that, yeah, shout out, thumbs up records. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot else. We are really lucky to be part of this cool like Wisconsin music scene. You've got some heavy hitters with Emway and Snag, Tiny Voices. We're lucky to call these people friends. I could probably ramble for a while about how cool the music scene is here.
Yeah. Well, Wisconsin is definitely one of those scenes that I don't know. For people that I feel like for people that aren't aware of the Wisconsin scene, it's popping off in the best ways. Kind of like how from doing a lot of these episodes, I've gotten to kind of touch base in a couple different pockets of like the Michigan scene. It's like the same way. Where like it's just kind of crazy. Where it's too. As someone that comes from Iowa, I can say this, so no one can get mad at me. But it seems like two, kind of flyover states of just like it's just the Midwest. It's whatever. It's cold.
Yep.
It's rainy. It snows. But just to see the scenes that are happening and like what's going on is just amazing. From like an outsider's perspective, in general, it's just like, oh, like this band is sick. This band's sick. Oh shit, like they're all from like one state. Oh shit, they're all from like within 2 hours of each other or some shit. Like
Yeah,
it's just crazy what Wisconsin is putting out right now.
yeah, it's an exciting time, and I guess just like thank you for the time and energy you've spent again in like amplifying the voices around here. And my one like nerdy, I don't talk a lot on stage. My banter's usually pretty brief. I'm there to play the songs. I don't like to get preachy, you know.
Yeah.
But the one little thing that I like to plug, I kind of mentioned already, is just like how critical a community is. And I feel like um that's what I found in music. That's what I lost during the pandemic. That's what relaunched the Garden Home ship after the pandemic, was this feeling of this like thing that was missing for us. And it's been really, really fucking sick to have Wisconsin's music scene thrive. And that's, obviously thanks to bands in the area, people like JJ Kaiser, booking shows and like putting in hard work. Often probably sometimes in their own free times and shit. Like that's what makes doing this shit so fucking awesome. And the Wisconsin scene wouldn't be thriving or this thing to even talk about if it wasn't for, honestly, like a lot of the kids that come out to this shit and keep the energy high and are genuinely, treating each other with respect and shit. I remember my partner and I are in our 30s, and she came to the first skate park show that we did last year, which was the failed Culver's show.
Oh
And yeah, critical Wisconsin music scene lore moment.
yeah.
um she came to Four Seasons, which is where the show ended up after it got failed at Culver's. And she was like, I've gone to so many shows, throughout my life, and the ones that I hold like dearest are the ones where it's like people literally of all ages. There's young people and middle aged or older folks around, the elder emos. I know someone will cast me down on Twitter for saying it. It was literally an all ages event that was BYOB. So people are drinking, but there was never like a moment where anyone had to get cut off, kicked out, got violent, got shitty, got argumentative, got slur, whatever. Like it was just like the whole night there was this like energy, and like it was kinetic. You could feel it. Like time felt like it was standing still in there, and everybody was just like treating each other kindly. And like I just like I can't emphasize enough how like that's what makes this shit thrive in these pockets. And I just want to fan the flames of like start bands, go to shows, start podcasts, like
Yeah,
support the scene in whatever ways you can or are willing to. But like um it we wouldn't be doing fucking anything if it wasn't for people that were like connecting with it and coming out. And so yeah, I just want to say thanks for being a part of that too.
dude. Yeah,
It's that the
it's
Banquati
great seeing
song.
the scene.
Sorry,
It's
sorry.
great. No, you're fine. Yeah, it's great seeing the scene. Watching the videos from that skate park are just, it's crazy to me. Like, I don't know, growing up in a small town of like 3,000 people and like seeing like, so like thinking of some of the DIY shows that I used to go to, but seeing it like on the Wisconsin scale where it's just in that skate park and just like everyone sitting around the bowl and on the lip, like it's just fucking nuts and it's just amazing to see.
Yeah, those skate park ones are special. It's like I've never played anywhere where you have like kind of like an amphitheater effect where it's like there's all these different levels to it. I remember that first show we played. There's even video of me. I look at my partner and I like smile. I'm like, this is nuts. This is not like I couldn't look a direction no matter where I was without like people smiling and having a good time. And um yeah, those skate park ones are really special. If you can, I recommend making it to one of those in particular. Like
It's definitely on my list for sure.
yeah. If,
Um,
if you ever get in the area, like we're happy to host. Yeah.
Hell yeah. But like I've said, Dylan, like, and for everyone listening, go listen to Garden Home, the self-titled LP. Like it's killer. Everyone should be listening to it. I expected by the time this episode comes out that there should be like millions and millions of streams. And everyone will be ready for like the next iteration of Garden Home. I'm so stoked just to see what's next because kind of like you mentioned, like you've been it's been a year-long build up basically to this LP. And I'm sure at some point, I don't know, we didn't really talk about it, but I know that there's a point where writing stopped for this LP, and I'm sure thoughts keep coming into your head, and more writing has happened, and I'm really stoked to see what that next like maybe EP or LP2 or what happens down the line because uh, it's always funny with everyone that comes on. It's like, oh yeah, we've been sitting on these for like a year, like we're just tired of it already. Um, but we're just now getting it. We love it, but at the same time, I'm not tired of it, but I'm stoked to see what's next.
Yeah. I definitely get what you mean. It's even Cody who recorded this made a comment like bands sit on this shit usually for like months, and you guys have like we literally took it like we couldn't have had it and like more faster just like passed it on to get it out. And yeah, I mean like full disclosures, we were probably like writing until the end or maybe slightly early into 2024. I mean like there is
Oh,
Past Life or Right by Me, the first and the last song on the record are the last ones written, which is kind of funny how it shook out that way. But um those were getting concluded around then. But it was funny as we finished applying like lyrics and all that sort of shit, to songs and recording. I made a comment where I was like, man, this is like the first time in my life my little like lyrics document where I leave random notes and shit and blah blah blah. Like, hey, go talk about this more. Here's a catchy line. It was like the first time I felt like I like dried up all the shit I had, like I put it all into the record. And that was like a month or two ago, and I've already like got a couple like things already added back in and stuff. And yeah, I'm definitely eager to like get through tours and stuff. JD, our drummer's getting married in October. So 2024 is a little wacky for us that way. It's why a lot of our stuff is earlier in the year. Um, but yeah, I'm eager to see like where we push this next, because for a long time this was the goal. We're arriving at it, and so it's tough to be like, yeah, this is what's next when it's like we could take like a lot of forms. There is a snag split got talked about pretty extensively for a moment, so we would like to do something like that with them. These are close homies of ours. Um, but yeah, I'm just not sure what form we'll take next.
Yeah.
It's just kind of fun. I like the mystery of it, you know, like we do have, I guess one thing worth mentioning is we have kind of a B-side of the album is dropping on April 8th, or will have dropped on April 8th. It is a part of the Milwaukee style hardcore comp, so it's like a lot of hardcore adjacent stuff from the area. And there's a track that we had written actually back when like Ghost was written for the postmortem EP. So we've been sitting on this for like years, but the original version of it is way slower than what is on this comp. We ended up like double timing it. It's a lot faster and like punkier now, and it just like didn't feel like a great fit with the record. And so like when they hit us up, they were like, "Hey, do you have an unreleased song? You also can't end up releasing it, so can you give us a song?" We were like, it kind of like worked out well where yeah, we get to like have this other kind of like auxiliary thing come out and push us forward right like literally like 4 days before the record comes out. um so keep your eye out for that one too. But
Dude, hell
yeah,
yeah.
I want the snag split. That's a selfish thing. I would love to make that happen.
Well, I'll be ready for it whether it happens or not. Um, as we start to transition to the later half of these episodes, this is obviously Beers with Bands. You don't have to be drinking on these episodes, but I know you're drinking a couple beverages on this fine. Holy shit! It's only Monday. On this
Monday
fine
night.
Monday.
Yeah.
What do you drink tonight for today's episode?
I had a dive beer by Lakefront Brewery. This is literally our. Oh, I work at Lakefront, so when I say our, it's because I work there. Um, this is our champagne of beers. If you get my reference, this is our just like nice normal drinking lager. I've I've been in Lakefront for like 12 years. Um, and my craft beer journey, I've done it all already. I got into the stouts and barrel aged shit. I got into like the crazy hoppy and exotic things and milkshake stouts and blah blah blah. And like there's literally a joke in the brewing industry where it's like you can tell where someone is when someone is seasoned in the industry because all they want is a regular beer at the end of the day. And I've arrived back at the starting point of just give me a high life, please. So yeah, this is Lakefront's version of that.
Hell yeah. And for this episode, to keep it with the Wisconsin theme, I had a good old, I've had a good old few of them. Some good old spotted cows for the Wisconsin folks, and then I did for the opening crack. I did start with that good old hams, which I believe is Milwaukee as well. So
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure that's brewed here as well. Yeah,
yeah, can't go wrong. Two solid beers.
I didn't show off my logo. There you go.
Yeah, if you don't show it, you don't get the sponsorship check.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I Mike's other band, Okay Omen. They are a bunch of hams diehards. There's usually a lot of hams cans around our practice space.
Yeah. I have a few buddies that are hams diehards. I'm personally more of a PBR guy.
Okay, word.
But hams is growing on me a little bit. But if I had to choose between the two, just
Yeah,
don't shoot me.
I respect that. I respect that.
But now as we get into the later half, this is where we kind of talk about some fun stories from your time in music. That can be anything horrendous to tremendous or any adjective in between. The way I like to think about it is think about the stories you always reminisce about with your friends. Those are usually the best stories that everyone loves to hear.
That is a good prompt. Yeah. What I mean, I can't help but think of the lighthouse, or the leak house. We were playing at a venue in Milwaukee. There's this band in town, Diet Light. They were living with Cleo, who's in Riot 9. She gets a particularly large shout out from us because she found us in like spring or summer of 2022 and has been like a really critical homie and like has helped amplify us with like different crowds that I just don't feel like we were reaching before in Milwaukee. And I probably mean like just generally younger people, where most of us are in our 30s and probably could have quickly faded away into the irrelevancy of older dudes. But shout out to Cleo for keeping us young. She was living with Diet Light. They had this house basement venue called the Lighthouse. Clever. And we played the show with them, with Riot 9 opened, and then it was us, Excuse Me, Who Are You, and Bug Moment. So like stacked stacked Wisconsin lineup. And this is our first time like meeting Bug Moment, meeting Amway. We had kind of interacted online a couple times, but like this is like the big introduction to a lot of these people for us, and we're hitting it off. I mean, like we were all chumming and doing the band thing together, and I remember the show hadn't even started yet. We're outside the house, like they kind of have this like parking lot area outside of the house, and we're outside and we're like, oh, there's like a shit ton of people here, like, and we got to go like pack into this basement, you know that vibe. And we kind of start like guesstimating. I think there was maybe like 120 people there, and after the show they changed their cap to 70 just to like give some scale.
Jeez.
Yeah. And during Amway's set, they'd played third, so Right Nine, us, RIP, poor Bug Moment didn't get to play that night, because during literally Amway's last song, Kyle is on Maxwell from Enswell's shoulders. He's on his back, and I think like Maxwell spun, and Kyle, or maybe Stu's guitar, something hit a pipe off in the corner. And I was standing nearby. I was up front when it happened. We all thought somebody like opened a bottle of champagne. Like it couldn't have been more like off screen, like just like water comes flying in. We're like, who the fuck is like popping a bottle? And then all of a sudden, like reality sets in, and it's like, oh fuck, like a pipe is spraying water over there.
Oh shit.
120 kids like start panicking. People are like rushing out of there, like this fucking basement's gonna flood, like we're on the Titanic or some shit. Like panic ensues. People are yelling and like trying to get out, and I'm like, what? Your fucking shoes are gonna get a little wet. Like you're okay, People pile out of the house, and we're kind of all like taking a second to see like what's about to happen. Well, they couldn't figure out how to turn off the water. I think the water main was like in a separate building on this property, but like not in the main house. Yeah. So they like couldn't turn the water off. So at some point the landlord gets called in the emergency, but they're like, holy fuck, there's 120 people at our house. We can't have it look like there was just a show here, and there's like cans everywhere. Like this place had got toe up, and we all just like bounced. We all just like took our shit and got the fuck out of there. And that was like kind of like wild start to the thumbs up story for us in a way, because yeah, that's how we got in with Amway, and then that led to subsequent things with Enswell. I think we did a thing in like November, and then January was the one we met Brady at. So like critical core lower moment for Garden Home getting on thumbs up is, yeah, everyone had to get really doused in water. I don't think any gear was lost, like I think everything was generally fine, but Stu's pedal board got pretty sprayed, if I recall correctly. I had a speaker. One of the bands wanted a monitor, and so I took this mobile PA from work that got really wet and ended up. I hope my employer doesn't watch this, because we like totally fucked up this PA that I like later had to replace. And like, yeah, it was definitely like just a good like critical punk gig that has led to like a lot of cool. I mean, like the Culver's thing wouldn't have happened without probably some of that stuff, and yeah, that was a pretty wild. Just I guess it wasn't during our set, but we were there when the Leak House thing happened.
Yeah, it's full circle.
Yeah, yeah. Other than that, like I don't have like a lot of crazy anecdotes. The band was started when like right after weed was legalized in Colorado. We were all out there seeing some friends. It wasn't like for that, but that was like huge advantage.
Sure.
And I just remember enough of us were like sitting around. We're like, we should start a band, blah blah. We should start playing together. And I definitely recall that trip as being like one of the core beginnings of of starting the band. But the funny thing that had happened on that trip with the weed comment is we had a buddy with us who I think was like loosely dealing at the time. He wasn't like big scale or anything, but he was selling a bag here and there. This motherfucker flew a bag to Colorado where the shit is now newly legal of weed that he had forgotten in his backpack. And what was crazy was he had to go through security in Milwaukee twice. He went through, we get to like the flight, they're like, your bag's too big, you have to go back and check it. So he like leaves to do that and then comes back through with this backpack again. So made it through security twice. And then we get to Colorado. We all go immediately to a dispensary. We get to the house. We're like finally gonna smoke, and he's like, "Oh my god, I found this other bag of weed that I like flew here from Wisconsin." And then fast forward to the last day of the trip, it was literally me and him playing chess and just like begrudgingly passing this thing back and forth because we were just like trying to plow through what was literally a surplus like of shit. We didn't even know we had that with us. So yeah, that's a funny early lore moment of
Oh, jeez.
dumb shit we got away with.
I remember, uh, so I'm friends with this one band from Colorado. They were called Why They Fight, and they had just played. I think we're playing somewhere in Minnesota, and they were going to come down to like Iowa to play like the next day. This is when I still lived in Iowa too, and they got Colorado plates, so if you're in a non-legal state, you're going to get pulled over a little bit more than most places
Oh,
because they're going to be like, "Oh, you probably have weed with you." It's also like a van, so it was like sketchy.
ugh.
But I remember they were telling us the story of like, yeah, we got pulled over, and the guy was like, "I know you guys got weed in your vehicle," and like their drummer was driving. He's like, "Dude, I swear to God, there's no weed in here," because he literally thought there was no weed in the van. Like I think they had like he had thought that they smoked it all or something, but he was like, "There's nothing in this fucking van," and like he was. The cop just like kept being persistent. I'm like, "No, I know there's stuff. Like I'll search it." And he's like, "Fucking search it. Like there's nothing here." And ends up where the cop is like, "You know what, fuck it, like just lets them go." And turns out there was weed in the vehicle, and someone had put it in one of his cymbal bags, uh just to like throw it in like a bag. They threw it in like his cymbal bag, which it like when he was telling us the story, we were like, "Holy shit, like you were the one saying it's not in there," and then they would have looked at your cymbal bag and found it. But thankfully, like the cop just got fed up with the whole thing and just fucking left
Kind
anyways.
of like called the bluff to a sense, yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh.
basically. Yeah. So the fact that your friend made it through security twice is pretty amazing.
I feel like there's just some commentary there on like they're not looking for that. Wait, you're gonna harm somebody on the plane with your bag of weed, you know? Like,
Right.
yeah. Don't smoke it in the
But
bathroom on the plane. You're probably fine. Yeah.
don't pull a Harold and Kumar and like make a whole fucking pipe for it or bong or whatever he makes. Uh but dude, Dylan, like this has been a great time. I can't stress enough how happy I am that we finally got to do this after all this time and how we still stayed connected to do it. Um before we end off, I usually like to end off these episodes on a very high note. No pun intended to what we were just talking about. But from your time in Garden Home, what has been your favorite moment that you've experienced? One thing I was thinking about all day is like think about the time that it switched from being a garden house to a garden home. Like what was that spark? What was that moment?
Um, okay, cool. Yeah, I feel like I kind of want to make a comment on when we like chose to get serious about doing this shit, you know? Like I remember we put out the disposable EP in 2019. We did like a small split in 2020. And, I feel like the record will show some cool growth from those moments. But I look at this old photo of us from like, God, it must be like 2017 or something. It's like right when we first became Garden Home. Uh, I look at this photo now and I'm like, these dudes were not ready. Like these dudes would not have been able to do the shit we're trying to do the full length, do a tour, XYZ. Our schedules are like what we were prioritizing at that time was not this yet. And I kind of get to give some thanks to, again, like the pandemic and having it like taken away for a moment. I feel like that made us aggressive about wanting it again. And I remember we got asked to do a live stream in 2021, like whenever like we were all starting to get vaccinated the first time.
Mm.
The time, yeah, it's all blended together now, but
Yeah.
like whenever it first started seeming like things were going to be normal again, we got asked to do a live stream. We brought our buddies in Snag onto that, and in that moment of like preparing for that live stream, we wrote a couple songs. That's what Postmortem became. It was Uprooted and Ghost. And I just remember being like, hey guys, do we want to get back together? Is this a thing we want to continue doing? I don't want to just do it because it was a thing we used to do, like before the pandemic. And they were all like, nah, let's get together. Let's do the damn thing. So we started rehearsing. We wrote new songs. The live stream was cool. Like it went well. But then, we kind of had like a summer of like COVID shows where people weren't really coming out yet. It was still weird. We were masked up, between sets and shit. Like it was like starting to grow out of some of those things a little bit. Was tough for a while. And I remember we ended up getting offered to open for Modern Life is War in Milwaukee. It must have been like winter 2021. And there was like a moment, maybe a month before that, where I was like, this is a cool gig. I would love to go into this with something to show for ourselves. We haven't put out music in, pre-pandemic. We weren't even really like playing some of the shit we had just recently put out on some of that. We just like, it wasn't connecting with us anymore. And I was like, let's record those two songs. Like, let's just do it ourselves. Well, like I got into that project. I recorded the whole Postmortem thing, but then we started trying to like mix it and I was lost. And that's when we first hooked up with Cody, and Cody got it out. We put the damn thing out. We opened up for Modern Life is War. I remember the vocalist of Modern Life is War didn't say anything about any other band that night, but like incredibly specifically was like, shout out to Garden Home like 3 times. And I was like, damn, all right, he was feeling it, like. And I kind of feel like, I think the guys would agree if they were with me too, that like that in a lot of ways was our turning point. Was like these couple small steps of like, do we want to keep doing this? We had like one kind of like what we consider to be a big success. And then I remember after that being like, all right, y'all, what's next? Like, are you down to commit for a full length? Like, talking bucket list shit of being in a band in our lives. We've done music videos, we made shirts, we did the EP, like we've played out of town. Like, what left are we hoping to get out of this? And they all like buckled down and were down to do the full length thing. And and tour and blah blah blah. There's a couple things we're about to. Vinyl is another bucket list thing. Like there are a number of things that were left in our bucket of shit we needed to get done, and it's really cool to be like tying the knot on a lot of that. And it's hard to not feel like you're tossing a bottle out to sea a little bit, because I know once it's out, I have nothing to do with how it's received or how people connect with it. So like, yeah, we're just gonna launch this thing out and hope that people fuck with it. But yeah, it was cool. It was cool to see my dudes be like, nah, let's get it. And then we actually fucking went and did it, like. So yeah, I'm proud of the band.
I used to say this a lot. I've said it a few different times, but I say this a lot. Post pandemic, of like, props to any band that stayed together and like kept going, because a lot of bands were in that same situation of like, hey, do we keep doing this, or is this chapter done and we just kind of go on with our lives?
Right.
So major props to the 4 of you for being like, no, let's still get together. Like, let's do this. Let's still write. Let's still put something out. Let's do this next step. Let's do this and this. So
Yeah,
it's been amazing.
I think we feel like we hadn't fully tapped it yet, like
right.
There was still gas in the tank. And what's funny is doing that has only in turn put more gas in the tank, you know? Like we've gotten more reasons to feel hype or feel like recognized, I guess, you know. It's that sort of shit that makes you want to keep getting that dopamine in return, you know? And um I know that at the end of the day, like again, we like getting together to practice and hang out, and there's even practices that are maybe briefer because we just end up chatting a bit, or we go play gigs and it's fun to just like hang out together and do that shit. And um yeah, I'm thankful that we have continued. Okay, look, like sorry, I'm gonna get like a little corny and cheesy for a second, but I'm about to hit a decade in my like what's the word I want? Like my actual relationship, like with my partner, my romantic relationship. That's what I wanted. I'm about to hit a decade there, and I feel like we survived the pandemic, learned a lot about ourselves and each other throughout that shit, and um, you end up learning that you make a choice every goddamn day to continue to do this shit. And I've said to the band, we got together, started playing in a former project before Garden Home a few months before I met my partner. So technically, we've been together a little longer than my partner and I. And I made a comment to them recently. I was like, "This is fucking nuts, dudes! Like, romantic relationships barely make it this long, and like we're not like benefiting from each other in any sort of way like that, and we still are like choosing to spend time together, put in work together, like grow, try to do better, be better." Um, it yeah, it's fucking sick to have this group of like-minded dudes that are um we're not out like trying to make it big. We just genuinely want to make this shit and have fun and play gigs and connect with people, meet new people. See, it's a great excuse to get introduced to new music too that I probably wasn't expecting, you know, to end up fucking with. And um yeah, I'm thankful for all of it, which is kind of the thing at the end of the record.
Yeah, I feel like that. I feel like that all ties off perfectly. You know, we've kind of talked about the community. We talked about relationship with the band, and like it's really just it's kind of like putting in which getting out what you put in, and like being down for it, and like it's awesome that you're still four dudes that just love playing together, whether you put out another full length or another EP or do whatever next. It's at the end of the day, it's just four homies getting together to do music and just have a good time. And that's, as a listener, I love hearing that because I feel like it kind of shows throughout the record of like, oh, like, yeah, you can listen to a band that just kind of gets together and just like fucking puts it out, but like to know a little bit more of like, oh no, like they actually enjoy it, like hearing this, and like how much like you guys are all enjoying to get together, like it adds so much more to the record. And it makes me enjoy it even more and like be stoked to see it. And I can't wait for the day where I get to see a Garden Home set live and not through a video, and just experience everything you guys got going on in person.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Yeah, we're I want to give it to you too. I want you to have it. Yeah.
I know we talked a little bit about those tour dates. I know it's like I think the second through the fifth or third through the fifth.
Oh, you do your homework. I love it. Yeah.
I try. Um, we're gonna one up that. I think it's Chicago, Kansas City, and Tulsa, Oklahoma. Is that where Gnargaritaville is?
Yeah.
Tulsa. Yeah. So make sure you catch Garden Home there with Tiny Voices on all of those dates as well. Like we did
Except
mention also,
except for Kansas. And then we
except
also
for
have
Kansas.
St. Louis that has them in Wise Disguise, and Wise Disguise is also on Margarita.
Okay, hell yeah. And then also, like I did mention, Connor, this one's I'm still gonna need money from the last one, but make sure you get your Fuaxchella 7 tickets. Uh, get out there. Fuaxchella is one of those ones that I'm unfortunately not going to be at this year. Like I did mention, hopefully one of these years I'll finally make it out there. But this is another. I with Fuaxchella 6, I was like, there's no way they can top this lineup, and then they dropped this one for Fuaxchella 7, and I'm like, shit. Like it's another stacked year, and it's gonna be nice to see. It's nice to see so much of like the thumbs up crew on it, but like just everyone else that's homies on that fucking roster and like
Yeah.
playing that weekend.
There's a lot of people that I'm stoked to meet and like get to know better. And yeah, I think like early on, at least behind the scenes, I don't know if I'm spilling some tea here, but I know they were calling this year like the new blood year. It was a lot of like most of the bands haven't been there before. And I feel like, on our commentary of seeing where shit's at in 5 to 10 years, of what comes out from some of these bands after, or what they go on to inspire other people to do. It'll be exciting to, see this class of bands and like what any of them go on to do. And yeah, I'm fucking tickled to be a part of it, because for so long I was content just being a spectator, like, so yeah, the fact that I get to go do that, fucking just scream in people's faces, and then have them be like, that was sick, is a pretty fucking cool feeling. So yeah, I'm hopefully some people know the words by
Uh,
Fuaxchella, and are
I'm sure there will be a lot of people that will know the words by the time Coachella comes around.
yeah, fuck
Uh,
yeah.
Knowing of a lot of people that go to that, those are the diehards. They know what's up. They'll be singing along. Um, but if anyone's looking for merch, music, or garden home in general, where can they find it?
We do all the social medias. We are Garden Home WI on pretty much everything: Facebook, Insta, Twitter. I don't do the clock app. That's the one I haven't really gotten into yet. Um,
That's fine. I feel like once you hit our age, like you shouldn't really be posting on there.
well, and then they keep
Uh,
fucking like it's every goddamn 6 months. They're like, oh, it's gonna get banned, and I'm like, why would I waste my time on the thing they're gonna take away? Like,
yeah.
but yeah, I run a lot of the socials. I'm pretty responsive there. I love connecting with people, and so yeah, come find us.
Yeah. Well, depending on where you find this episode, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, Threads, or you watch the YouTube version, you got to see Dylan's lovely face like I did tonight. Hit those hyperlinks down below. Go follow them on all the socials. Let them know what you think of the record. Tweet it. Tweet at Dylan. I mean, Garden Home or Dylan. I mean, it's vice versa. It's the same thing.
It's pretty much my personal, yeah.
But tweet at them. Let them know what's up. Catch them on their dates with Tiny Voices. Catch them at Gnargaritaville if you're going to be in that area. Catch them at Fuaxchella, like I said. Also, I know at the time of this recording, pre-orders are still up. Pre-orders should still be up by the time this episode comes out.
Yep.
Make sure you go get your copies of the vinyl. Like I know we kind of hinted at it, but like the artwork for this is just it's amazing, but it's such like the navy blue or like aqua blue. I can't think of the right name of the blue.
Tealish, yeah, I'm not sure
Yeah,
either,
it's
yeah.
it's such a great color for it. Like it stands, it's so prompt. Like it's bold. It does so well. But then like seeing the variants that have come up with for this record, like you got the splatter and you got I'm gonna blank on the other one. I know I saw pictures of it.
Teal and white or something. It's more of
Yeah,
a frame thing, yeah.
but like they're so like they're great. I know my tax return just hit, so I'm gonna have to go get that one pre-ordered and get it in the collection. But like definitely go get yourselves copies of that and just be ready for everything that Garden Home has coming next.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, I know this is a weird thing to promo, but I did the inserts recently for the vinyl, and like I'm fucking stoked on some of the other art we cooked up too. So yeah, thanks for giving that some love, the record some love, us some love. Thank you for spending time with us. Me.
Dude,
Yeah.
dude, of course. Like I said, this is a long time in the making. I'm super stoked we finally got to do it. I love Garden Home. I love the LP, and I love everyone that's tuning into these episodes. One last big shout out to Dylan for stopping by on this fine Monday, snowy Monday. It's fucking snow, man.
Where my dog's at? Oh.
And you know what? I'll catch everyone on the next episode. See ya.
Thanks, Michael.